Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we continued with our Void Crusade, and we unlocked the secret mission, which is actually the next one in the list we have to go through. We'll put some modifiers on it. Actually, let's do... Yeah, Archaeotech Shard should be fine. I'll take the heat resist, because having it timed, but then also having a 5-minute timer, I don't know if that's going to break it or what's going to happen there. So I saw some news recently that it's a mixture of interesting and kind of distressing. A survey went out to 537 game companies, and in the survey, one of the questions asked was, are you working on or planning to work on or I think it's more or less, are you working on a live service game? And 500 of the studios, or around 500, said that they are currently maintaining or working on a live service game. And on top of that, 66% responded to another question saying that live service games are like the key to a successful game right now. And man, that is... I get where they're coming from. It makes sense, but that is also really erroneous in a lot of ways. Because a game doesn't need to have like all the battle passes and seasons and all that to be successful. And it's just kind of laughable to me. Because let's say it's 2 studios working per game. So there are, in this theory, 250 live service games of either currently active or in development. Could be far higher, could be a little bit lower. Do you really think the market is built to sustain all those games? Now, it doesn't specify if this includes mobile developers, because that can... I assume it does, because that skews things a fair amount. But even then, like, mobile games are... like... they can be sustained by like any game can. But a lot of mobile games, like, you have a couple that are like the big ones in the genre, and then you just have a bunch of tinier ones that are either skating by or at any given point 6 months away from being shut down. But so it's interesting because this whole idea that that's what is needed to succeed it's dangerous, because a standard game, estimates put, takes 2 to 3 years development time. But these live service games can take 4, 5, 6 years. So you're sacrificing potentially making up to 2 games to make one that may or may not last. Look at Avengers, look at Gotham Knights, look at currently Suicide Squad. They're not doing too hot. And some of the discussion around it, they've said, like, why are these studios still doing this? shouldn't they be looking at, the corpses of all these other games strewn along the way? Shouldn't this be the big sign that says, hey, this is bad, maybe we shouldn't do it? And you'd think to some degree they would. They'd see this and go, okay, maybe the market's not ready. But part of the problem is, I would describe it as kind of the teenager mentality. Nothing bad can happen to me. It only happens to other people. How many studios take that approach? And of course, nobody wants to come into a project and be like, yeah, this is gonna fail. No, you hopefully have the optimism to go, ours is different, ours will get people, ours will retain them. Granted, do a lot of these games seem to do proper research? Hell no. No one seems to be doing the right research because the games they make fall into the same pitfalls previous games had. Or they're just poorly designed. Or the other one is sunk cost. It's hard to get people into a game that's gonna ask for hundreds, if not thousands of hours of playtime and constantly ask you for money when you're already invested in something else. A prime example is like Warframe. For I think a good number of people, it'll be hard to shift from that to the First Descendant. Because the First Descendant is, to a degree, directly competing. I've spent well over 2,000 hours over the past 10 years on Warframe. Now, have I spent money? No, I went entirely free to play. Will I shift over? Yeah, to a degree I will, and unless the game has some glaring issue that the beta didn't show me, in which case I might stop or I might take a long break like I do with Warframe. I check in once in a while, maybe do a story bit, and then I kind of just leave. As much as I'd like to get all of the prime gear and all that, I also understand it's a lot of time to invest in it, and at a certain point, I just kind of just say, screw it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to waste all my time grinding relics. And that's a risk. It's something I had mentioned before, kind of tangentially, but there's a difference between good grind and bad grind. And a lot of games fail to understand that difference because they saw one studio was successful with it and therefore they can do it. It's something I've seen discussed within game dev groups is like business models. And people will say like, well, just like, oh, I looked at what other games are doing, and I've said it before in these groups, a big thing is, just because a game has a certain business model does not mean that business model is successful for everyone. It can be flawed. It can be a holdover that only works for that game. Prime example is loot boxes. CSGO can pull it off, but that's because they have the market. Does it mean it's going to work for everybody? No. We'll see in 6 months, 8 months, a year, how the marketplace is working in Rainbow Six Siege. Is it panning out? Is it everything they expected? Or did it flop? Because initially, yeah, there's going to be a ton of interaction with it, but over time, we'll see. Loot boxes aren't a guaranteed thing. Killing Floor 2 tried it, and even though they had the power of the Steam Marketplace to buy and sell skins, nobody bothered. There's a lot to it. Even battle passes to a degree. are a system that doesn't work for every game. Sitting around going, oh, well, we have our normal free track, our paid track, and then our premium paid track. That doesn't work for every game. Sometimes it's just bad. Personally, when I see the premium paid track, I think it's just incredibly greedy. Because then it's like, okay, so you want even more money from me per season for minimal payout realistically. I use the Warhammer game Tacticus. I stopped playing. Deleted it off my phone because I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And the premium tracks would be like, oh, if you pay us $30, you can get even more character shards, but you still wouldn't get a lot of them. So your characters would still be gated down at low gear levels, so they'd bring back the same characters for another pass. And it's like, look, you already asked me for $30 and you want me to give you another $30 so that I can try to get this guy up to a level I can use at my current, difficulty level, because I can never draw them in your $20, $30, 10 draw sets? No. Bad grind, bad payout. Ooh, boss mission. That's T-Bolt build. Let's do this seasonal mission. Yeah, 2 bonus champion sets. This is gonna be good. But going with this whole live service thing, a big thing to note when I'm talking about this too is I don't think all live service games are bad. They aren't, the shaitan of everything. They're not the devil. The problem is they are the current industry zeitgeist. They're the thing everyone wants to make because someone made money. I always say it, there's the suits who are like, oh, Fortnite's successful, make us a Fortnite. This is kind of, and it's very clear that it's corporate going, oh, live service is a thing. They don't understand it, they just see it makes money, so they go, make us a live service game. Make us a looter shooter, not understanding the pitfalls of it, not understanding Destiny came with its own slew of issues that it never fixed. It's a failure to understand things. Because there are prime examples where, yeah, live service is great. PlanetSide 2. I think the game needs a sequel. It's old, it's imbalanced, the population's died off. But I think a new game could do really well. Because there's not a lot in the current large-scale shooter genre. Now, yes, if you include Hell Let Loose and all these tactical shooters, but tactical shooters, those have kind of become the zombie game of this era. If you remember 2010s, 20-teens time, everybody and their mother was making zombie games. There were bootleg versions of everything out there. And the problem was, they were all cheaply made and bad. Tactical shooters, you can even make them worse, because you can have the AI track you through a wall and pop you through a door, and just say, oh, well, it's tactical, because they would have known you were there. No, they wouldn't have. It's just bad design and bad tracking. We're seeing that a lot. Games can look real nice, but they're poorly made. The bigger industry guys, live service is their zeitgeist. It's their current thing everyone wants. No rep or Morality relics. A little bit of a bummer, but whatever. Still got a bunch of stuff, hopefully something good. But so it's just kind of the issue of you need to fill a niche. To quote Big Weld from the seminal classic movie Robots, see a need, fill a need. There's a need in certain genres. The problem is, a lot of people and a lot of studios, they don't want to try those genres because they think, and potentially corporate thinks, that the genre itself is bad, and it's not that people just stop servicing that genre. That said, sometimes you gotta get a little creative. Could you do a live service RTS? I don't think so. It would have to be like skins, but I think cosmetics in an RTS are a very dangerous game. It would have to be just very minimal reskins to like a hero. Short of that, I think you start to risk confusing players, and that's unhealthy, and will likely doom the game. Could you do more of a live service where you add maps over time, and you sell like, kind of like Halo Wars, where they have like the UNSC, but then you have Forge, you have all these other leaders within the faction. Or where the Banished had like Atriox, and they had like Yap Yap the Destroyer, and the one that's a hunter, but it's a leader. Yeah, you could do that. I think by selling the factions or the leaders, you could make the money to then sell additional maps or add things like that. That's an option. But people really have to kind of wisen up and understand some markets are saturated. Simple as that. And it's not always the best option to muscle into the saturated market when there are clearly underserved markets left open. Alright, let's just fly through, mulch all of this. Is any of this worthwhile? 4-stat, 4-stat. It's a 4-stat. Nah, it's T-Bolt. It's not bad, but I can't imagine it's gonna be that good. Shield. Yeah, a lot of this just isn't that good, tragically. Not doing that special effect. God, no. And, like, that wouldn't be bad, but it's just 4-stat, and that's... Whatever I have is going to outclass it already. Which is the bummer here. Alright, let's get back to the Crusade. Yeah, we can crank difficulty here. What's the hindrance? Inoculator? Yeah, same level as me, I don't care. If it was higher level, I'd be like, nah, we're not doing that, but that's all doable. Eldar kinda suck, but I'll take it. But the other big thing with all this live service news is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out. I watched gameplay because I knew that game was going to be bad off the rip. Second I saw it, I had bad feelings about it. You know, it's one of those games where you just look at it and you're like, oh, this isn't going to pan out well. It's sad, but you can see it coming a mile away. But so, watched gameplay, watched a playthrough. Yeah, don't buy that. There's a reason the Google Trends shows that the phrase refund Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League went up like 700%. people aren't happy. Rightfully so. Like, there's a lot of problems. Off rip, it's essentially just no one can take anything seriously. When Green Lantern dies, he's just left on the ground in his Green Lantern pattern boxers. I'm like, this feels kind of dumb. Captain Boomerang pees on every corpse, which... I don't know, when your character is essentially just Australian with Speed Force powers, I'm like, I don't care. Captain Boomerang blows. You can't make me enjoy that character. But like, there was Batman just getting headshot while incapacitated on a bench. Superman, he doesn't have like a cool death sequence, he just goes, ah, and then flops to the ground, dying of cringe. It's not good. The only Justice League character whose death was actually decent was Wonder Woman. And hers, it wasn't even a boss fight. Superman kills her. Spoiler, if you're interested in this game, everyone dies. But I should also really specify here. This is all spoilers, so if you're interested in this game, you should probably just end here. Thank you for watching. If you don't care and you're like, yeah, hit me with the spoilers, everything's already been spoiled for me, we're gonna keep going into this. So, Brainiac is the smartest man in the universe. He just watched all four of the Suicide Squad kill the Justice League. So what he does is he becomes the Flash and dies. Why? Are you telling me the smartest man's like, this shit can't happen twice? I mean, they started fighting Speed Force infused zombie monsters. Clearly they know how to handle the Speed Force. This can't happen again. And guess what? It happened again. And then they already have it planned of there's 12 more Brainiacs across the multiverse that'll help him. And based on what I saw for their season 1, 2 of them are going to be Superman and Green Lantern. So I'm like, oh, so we're just fighting the same bosses. This is incredibly weak. But going along with like them not being able to take anything seriously is the problem that they don't shut up. Like, there's no moment where they just let a moment sink in. Everything has to be undercut with some quippy, Marvel-esque, well, that just happened level joke, and it ruins every moment. You could actually have... I think it would actually be more impactful to have these dumbass jokers who can't shut up actually shut up at a moment and be like, oh, shit, this is actually a concern. Because it lends more weight to the moment so that people realize, oh, these guys are even taking it seriously, as opposed to just, this is an average day in the life. And of course there's the obvious power scaling of, realistically everyone should have died. But they have incredible amounts of plot armor. There's when you look at a lot of the gameplay, when you beat missions, which a lot of the side content, and even they make you do it as main content, is escort missions, which I thought we escaped escort missions, or at least minimized them. The fact that they're still this common, and at least in this game so heavily used, is astounding. But they're just not fun, and these missions suck, and these escort missions are just god-awful. is stuff like this. At the end of these missions, you have, like, a bat pod that's been hijacked by the Penguin to deliver your end of mission rewards. But the way it's designed is, like, it crashes and then it sits there for a second. You can't skip it. And you watch as, like, the creases on it light up in the color of the rarity item you got. And then it shows you kind of like something you get in a loot box, like in Apex Legends, or the loot boxes in CSGO, or in Overwatch. And it makes myself and other people think maybe this was a planned paid loot box thing. Because the way this game, the way it's designed, people keep saying, oh, it's been in development for like 7 or 10 years. And I'm like, there's no way in hell this version has been in development that long. This feels like a 4-year project where they were grabbing stuff from previous games, and then as backlash happened against like loot boxes and stuff, someone in the office was just running down the hall screaming, drop whatever you're doing, scrap that thing, we need to do something else. It feels like it's 4 other games, or 4 iterations, just kind of stitched together. And like the movement, people have said, oh, the combat's really cool. Well, yeah, it's shooting. If you screw up shooting, it's very clear. My thing is, it's so heavily reliant on just jumping around that the ground serves no purpose. If you're on the ground, you're either escorting something or you've screwed up. You fell off the building. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of mobility shooters, and I think one that's essentially just, yeah, charge jump or swing around constantly shooting guys is a bit boring. The way you have to, like, prime enemies to kill them to take health or ammo, it screams of Doom, which isn't bad, it's just, it feels weird. It feels out of place for the game. There's also the problem, this one just kills me. Everybody plays the same. Your mobility's different, your supers look a little different, but the big difference between characters is what gun you have. Oh, you can get a shotgun, this character can't. This character gets a sniper, this character gets a minigun. It is the most half-assed approach to making characters unique. People rip into the Avengers game a lot, which I'm not going to sit here and run defense for the Avengers. The game had a lot of issues, but everyone played in a different way. Iron Man could fly. He could reach places Hulk could never. Hulk could tank. Something that Black Widow couldn't do. Everyone had their own playstyle. Iron Man could open certain doors Hulk couldn't, but Hulk could also open... He could smash open certain doors Iron Man couldn't. Everyone had a purpose, and there was a dynamic. They're planning on adding Joker, which they already announced. Freeze is Season 2. I can't tell who's in Season 3. Season 4 is Deathstroke. What are they gonna do? Just, oh, this guy gets a different gun, this guy gets a different gun? Joker should have been a revolver as his ranged attack, a short-range one that lets him use, like, a flower on his outfit that sprays high-damage acid. He could have had Smilex bombs, you know, the Joker gas, that leaves lingering damage over time. You could have made those aspects unique and made him play far differently. Instead, all that's different is, oh, he gets to ride around on a umbrella and grind on the ground like it's Jet Set Radio. And I'm like, that's it? His mobility's different? These characters, there's no... You can switch to anyone, but there's really no incentive outside of if you want to play as a certain character because of a gun. Oh, I like sniping. Okay, you get Deadshot. I like miniguns. Okay, you get King Shark. Outside of that, there's no incentive. And that's such a problem, is these characters are so flat in their gameplay. And the devs sit here and act like, oh, it's fantastic. No, this is... I don't like being a dick, but this is clearly rushed. Or if it wasn't rushed, it was poorly thought out. And then, of course, the writing. People who made this game do not know even the current iteration of comics. Because they had like dossiers on everyone. Oh, here's the stuff on Green Lantern. The Green Lantern bit is apparently written by Deadshot, who they made Floyd Lawton Black. It's whatever, I don't care. But the way it... First off, it should have been... There's because Amanda Waller runs now Argus. There should have been an Argus dossier, which is like the official... Here is Hal Jordan, this is what he does, blah, 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 blah. Then you have each of the Suicide Squad as an option. It's their bit, like, oh, here's what King Shark thinks about him. Here's what Captain Boomerang thinks. Here's what Harley thinks. Maybe Harley doesn't care. And she's just like, yeah, he's whatever. He's an idiot with a lantern. Cool. But all they had was one person's perspective. And Floyd's, so Deadshot, it came off... He could have... There's some choice words he might as well have used that I cannot repeat because of who I am. I can't say what it really seems like they wanted him to say. It's implied, and it's like, oh, like he refers to Green Lantern as trying to make it seem like he's one of the good ones, and I was like, oh, so that's how we're writing this. Like, okay, I get it, but this is a little there. But then they had the dossier for Wonder Woman, and they had Lex Luthor writing it, and he's sitting here praising her. I'm like, Lex wouldn't praise anyone. If he's gonna kiss someone's ass, it's gonna be his own, or he'll praise Superman. Everyone else is below him. And then he's like, oh, the Amazons, they dealt with all these issues, technological lag. I'm like, they're not advanced technologically. But then he's like, they dealt with toxic masculinity. And I'm like, when the hell is Lex Luthor caring about toxic masculinity? And the final bit that I thought was funny, he goes, I wonder why she traded in her sisterhood for the exclusive brotherhood of the Justice League. I'm like, wait. The exclusive brotherhood? Ah, yes, the Justice League with their exclusive brotherhood with such male characters like Hawkgirl, Zatanna, Power Girl. At one point in the current iteration of comics, Raven. They had one iteration of Dr. Midnight. There was Nubia. There was Donna Troy. There was a lot. A Black Canary. Ah, yes, those male characters. And that's what bugs me. Because it's like, you can literally go to the DC Wiki, type in Justice League, go to the current iteration, go to members, and just read a list. And I get it, it's the Arkhamverse. The thing is, they never expanded past Batman in the Arkhamverse. They could have easily just been like, yeah, it follows current comics, because it likely would. But it screamed of someone who just did not even understand the characters. Lex Luthor's the easiest character to understand. He's a sanctimonious ass. The guy's full of himself. How hard is that to understand? But yeah, the game is... It's bad. Mechanically, narratively... And the sad part is the idea is solid. Hey, what if Brainiac took over everyone and the Justice League had to die? That is a cool concept. But being an always online live service dumpster fire? Nah. That's gonna kill the game. People were taking bets on if this game's gonna last a year. Which, yeah, it's probably contractually obligated to last a year, and then will probably be delisted, unfortunately. Alright, this is a long episode because I have more to talk about. I got myself worked up, so now I gotta keep going. Lucky for you guys. Now this ties together with the first topic of all the live service games and ties the Suicide Squad game together here, is the live service aspect. The thing that kills me is Warner Brothers, and there's been interviews with the current head, David Zaslav, and when they talk to him about games, he's talking about live service and all this stuff. If you've been following games or Warner Brothers at all, just last year, they had 2 games come out. They had Gotham Knights, another live service game, and they had Hogwarts Legacy, a single-player game that was not live service. Hogwarts Legacy sold 25 million copies in a year. I can guarantee you Gotham Knights did not sell 25 million copies. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say single-player games are the way of the future, that's clearly it. No. I could have made Wizard Game, copied Hogwarts Legacy verbatim, and sold maybe 4 copies, simply because Hogwarts Legacy has the Harry Potter branding behind it. That is an advantage. But the game was solid. These live service games, just think about that. In just over a year, they put out 2 live service games. One already died, and one is likely going to. They didn't learn from the first one. And that's the big thing. That should have been the critical thing, is they probably should have delayed Suicide Squad even further at this rate, just to make sure it's a good game. You know, maybe do an actual beta, or a very early beta of it, to get a feel. Hey, what do people want out of this game? Maybe do some market research and look at the Avengers game. Something to at least do better than what they did. And it kills me that the game that actually was successful, they're kind of like hemming and hawing over. I'm like, nah, you probably should stick to that for a little bit. Granted, if I was running Warner Brothers, I would have put out... Well, I would have done more with Lord of the Rings than license out friggin' Gollum. And sadly, that Mines of Moria game isn't that good, which is tragic. Because that would have been really fun. But no, that one's kind of gone bust too. But I would have done an RTS. Battle for Middle-earth 3. That's easy. Or, if you really want to cheap out, you don't even make it yourself, license Lord of the Rings to Creative Assembly. Just make sure they don't do their normal or current stupid decisions, and you could have a banger Total War game. People have been playing the Lord of the Rings mod for Medieval, I think? I think it's Medieval. Or like Medieval 2. They've been playing that for Total War, and they've been doing that for years. And it still gets updates. I can guarantee people would play an official game. I honestly expect them to make like another Lord of the Rings Online instead of just doing something a little different. Hell, I even remember playing Lord of the Rings Conquest. A friend of mine got that. He still has his copy for the Xbox, which was quite literally just Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original, reskinned to be Lord of the Rings. And it was fun. Was it the greatest game ever? God, no. It was kind of butt cheeks, but it was fun. But that's the big thing, is they have a thing that works, but they keep doing these really flimsy attempts, at least with DC, to make these other games. It's like, no, don't do this. I've said before, something like DC Universe Online, they need to just kind of reboot that. If they really wanted to do this looter shooter type beat, they could do a DC, like a rebuild of DC Universe Online. You have a hub that the players can interact with and find other people. Otherwise, it's just an open world for you and anyone in your party to explore. This way you don't have to do a ton of crazy stuff. Do like Destiny, have certain load areas for public events, where it just goes, hey, there's... I don't know... Brother Eye in the OMAC system. They're gonna attack here. Everyone show up to fight a bunch of robots and Robot Batman. And it just kind of loads people in. They're like, oh, hey, yeah, let's go fight it. You do the fight, and then it's like, okay, yeah, leave the area, and everybody goes back to their instances. You make unique play styles for different builds, and let people make their own superheroes, and you're golden. None of this is that hard. It's really disappointing to see just these really weak attempts. Because this is the reason, a good reason, why a lot of these games end up failing. A lot of these live service games. Because they only put like 60% of the effort needed in, when there's actually a lot more needed. Hell, Destiny, as basic as it is, the classes play differently. If they can play differently in meaningful ways, then anything should do the same. But here we are. It's sad. It's sad seeing this game, the Suicide Squad game, likely not last a year, but like people have pointed out, the Rockstar, the head guys left a couple of years ago. I think they saw the writing on the wall. And what I think is sad is I don't know how long the studio itself has to go. Because people have said, some of the Rockstar guys are like, or not Rockstar, Rocksteady, they're like, oh, well, we have more Arkham games planned. With what? This is apparently the Arkhamverse. Batman's dead. The Justice League is dead. You have this game slotted for who knows how many years, and they're going to use Elseworlds, so the multiverse, to explain everything. So what, are they going to end it? They're going to cap it off by going, oh, here's, we had Barry Allen, but here's Wally West, and he's going to cause the Flashpoint paradox and reset this back to the end of, I don't know, Arkham Knight. Is that it? Is that the plan? Because honestly, having seen this happen with like DC Comics a couple times, I hate Flashpoint because it's such a cheap cop-out. It's been done in the comics, in some of the animated stuff. It sucks. It's just, oh yeah, so here's a story that happened. Barry, go undo reality for us. Okay. And especially now, it comes off more as, oh, we screwed up, everyone's mad, we have to walk it back. You should have saw this coming. With the reliance on the Elseworlds, this should have been an Elseworld. No one would have cared. Everyone would have been like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. It's an Elseworld. This Batman's dead, but they can still make a new Arkham game. People would have been way more receptive. Still critical of, like, escort missions out the ass. Because, God, they're horrible. But still better than current. Alright, let's mulch all this up. Don't think we got anything. Yeah, nothing worthwhile. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.